to Empower Your Thinking, the podcast that inspires and fuels your journey to unlocking your full potential. Join host C.T. Johnson on the voyage of self-discovery as he uncovers the keys to a more empowered and fulfilled life. Tune in and elevate your thinking today.
Hello, cerebral citizens. Welcome to the Empower Your Thinking podcast with yours truly, C.T. Johnson. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery as we uncover the keys to a more empowered and fulfilled life. As always, your active participation is what makes this podcast a success. If you're finding value in our conversations, and I know that you are, I encourage you to take a moment to rate and subscribe to the podcast. Your support helps us reach more listeners, and I'd love for you to be a part of the Empower Your Thinking community. Now, if you were with us on our last episode, and I say us because I had a very special guest on our last episode who is back in the studio with me on today, my good friend Justin L. Enlow. He still didn't tell us what the L stood for regarding his middle name, but I'm going to find out because I have a relationship with his wife. And more importantly, my wife has a relationship with his wife. And so we're going to find out, Justin, your middle name. But I digress. So we on our last episode, we dealt with our overall series topic, From Scarcity to Strategy, Rethinking Your Money Mindset. And we had a very powerful time. Justin unpacked some potent and powerful, thought-provoking statements, brought us into a better understanding of the importance of developing financial literacy. Yes. That's the word I was endeavoring to pull. He helped us to understand the significance of being financially literate and setting your posterior, setting your children, the generation to follow you up for financial success. And so today, in this episode, we're going to address financial systems. We're going to talk about spiritual disciplines in regards to money, where money is concerned. And we're also going to discuss and give you some economic strategies to help you on your economic journey. So if you joined us for part one, you already know what's about to happen, how it's about to go down. All right. We just didn't scratch the surface. We went really just into the deep on how fear, we addressed that to some extent, in regards to fear and identity and inherent beliefs, how they shape our relationship with money. And so today we're going to continue that momentum and shift from money mindset, or from mindset rather, shift from mindset, I should say, to strategy, from internal rewiring to external execution. I like that. From internal rewiring to external execution, because once you reframed how you see money, the next question becomes, what are you actually doing with your money? Yes. So let's get ready to dive deeper with Justin. Justin, welcome back to the Empower Your Thinking podcast.
Good to be here.
So for those who are listening for the first time, possibly to the podcast in general, and in particularly listening to this episode with you and I for the first time, and they haven't as of yet had an opportunity to listen to the previous episode, for the sake of recap, what would you say were some powerful, impactful thoughts, statements that we addressed that is necessary to touch upon briefly today as we move forward into this next realm of discussion?
So I will go ahead and say that one critical thought that we had was the idea of financial isolation. The fact that when it comes to your money decisions, it's very important that you normalize conversations and have healthy conversations with others so that you don't feel like you have to deal with money by yourself. Another aspect was just being intentional about our financial decision making. Are you drifting into autopilot, or are you being purposeful? Are you being intentional about how every dollar is being used? Those, I would say that's a good rundown. I think that'll be a good rundown as for the conversation that we had recently, and I'm looking to go ahead and go deeper into as far as the next segment there.
Wonderful. Also, before we move into what we're going to get into as far as the crux of it,
yes.
Still recapping, you used a term that was new to many, money script.
Yes.
Briefly bring our listeners back, bring them back into the understanding of what money scripts are and the significance.
So money scripts, well, just think about it. Every actor, when they perform a movie or anything of that particular sort of play, they start off by memorizing a script. So this idea of money scripts actually comes from Dr. Brad Klontz. So that's Klontz. Make sure I get the name correct on that. But he throughout his discipline and understanding of financial therapy and counseling, he found that people are more likely to fall in one of four money scripts. That is money worship, money status, money vigilance, and money avoidance.
Okay.
I would love to go further into as far as those four there, but I will go ahead and say that I would definitely recommend those individuals to everyone to look it up. Money scripts, very simple, and to find out what your money script is, and allow that to be used as a plumb line, as a baseline to just help you understand. Well, self-assess. Like, how do I make my financial decisions? Why do I worry about money so much, or why do I not worry about money enough?
Right.
Or why am I very particular about every penny that I save? Right. All these attitudes, these mental models, they mean something. The question is, do you know what they mean for you and how you make decisions in the future?
Right. Well, since you already touched on it, let's continue down this trail.
Yes.
So discuss briefly the four types of money script.
So again, we have worship, we have status, we have avoidance, and we have vigilance. What money status is it's the idea of you associating your identity to the idea of I have status, I have value if I have money. Now, it's a little different from money worship, because money worship says that your whole life, your identity is shaped on the basis of money.
Okay.
So if I don't have money, I can't do this. Or if I do have money, I can do that. That's money worship. Money vigilance is you are line upon line, precept upon precept. You're about every penny and making sure that it's accounted for. Now, traditionally, that's a good thing, right? But what about when it comes to investing money?
Right.
Can you release control of the money and allow money to work for you? And then the last thing is money avoidance. The example that we used was the idea of debt collectors. And when they call, what is the first thing we do? Turn the phone over.
Send them to voicemail.
Send them to voicemail. And even though that's like a very small thing, but it really reveals something. Like, how do you confront debt? Right. Are you even confronting your debt?
Now, that's the operative question.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That's good.
So and there's spectrum to each of these. And here's the ironic thing. You can flow through each and every one of those scripts at any given moment. The key thing though is acknowledging, identifying, and then being able to pivot when it occurs.
I like that. Acknowledging, identifying,
and pivoting.
And then pivoting. So for the person that is listening to us for the first time, or they just haphazardly, so they think, came across this particular episode when you and I are discussing from scarcity to strategy, rethinking your money mindset, financial system, spiritual discipline, economic strategy. And they say, well, why do I need to know anything about what you all are talking about? So answer that question that someone might be asking internally. Why do I need to know what you, Justin, and CT are discussing? Why is this conversation important? Why is it necessary? Why is it significant?
It comes down to one word.
Okay.
Leverage.
I love it.
Do you have leverage over your resources, or does somebody else have them? How is money controlling your time, or are you controlling the money? I mean, it's leverage. It's about, you know what I'm saying, you having dominion, you being able to subject. It's you being able to make confident decisions about the money, about the financial purchase or the sell or whatever interaction that you have, whatever transaction you're about to engage in. Are you in full control? Is there anything lacking? Because if there's anything lacking, guess that's a personal responsibility. And if you miss out on that opportunity to learn for yourself, guess what? On the other end of that transaction, you can be easily manipulated.
Absolutely.
You can easily be led astray. You can be easily imprisoned. So it's about leverage. And that's the reason why it's important. If you're asking yourself, I heard a statistic that said that 86% of the people hate what they do for a living. Okay. Why do you hate it? And why are you doing it? That's a really deep question. If you hate what you do for a living and you're continuing to go back to as far as the work that you hate so much, then, you know what I'm saying, what can you do to change it? Well, most of the time they keep on going to it because it's the benefit, it's the pay, it's the financial matter.
Right.
So again, it's about leverage.
I love it. All right. It's no secret that our economy is frightening, scary. There's a lot that's going on within our world, not only within the United States where you and I reside, but there's a lot going on globally, nationally, economically. A lot for people to be concerned about. Almost everyone, even those who are financially established and are stable, are still experiencing financial pressures. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about for a moment the financial pressure that people are feeling within our current economy. Why does money feel so hard right now, even for those who should be doing okay?
So here's it goes back to that word leverage, and I'm going to explain why, because the reason why money feels so heavy right now is because it starts off with policy. It starts off with, as far as the laws, the understanding. It starts off at a 30,000 foot perspective, right? But as you continue to make financial decisions, when you go to the grocery store, when you decide upon as far as when you want to go back to school, or if you want to go to school or anything of that particular sort, you realize that those decisions that are being made from a global perspective, those are policies that are being written, that are being constructed, so that, and when I say these policies, we're talking about the idea of tariffs. We're talking about as far as the economic battles between this nation and the next nation, not realizing that all that stuff has an impact to our personal wallets. So if we're not going in prepared and understanding what money is, then yes, the value of the dollar is going down, right? That's evident. But it's also going down because of the personal choices that we're making, right? So, and I know that's a lot to take in, but I would tell you the reason why you feel so much of the pressure is because that is the vacuum that you're feeling from the lack of understanding about money. Because if this understanding is there, guess what? There's decisions, there's choices that you can make to go ahead and pivot. Now, is it scary? Is it scary? It's scary for everybody, but goes back to knowing where your source comes, knowing where the source is, who it is in that matter. And when we think about it from that standpoint, we know that if we're living in an abundance, well, let me take this statement. Let me say this: economy is the study of scarcity. Okay. If we live by the laws that are up under this mechanism, this balance between the demand and supply and demand, then saying, yes, we have every right to be scared. But when it comes to the idea of knowing who our king is, who our Lord is, well, that's a whole nother type of economy.
Oh yeah.
And in that,
absolutely,
there's a faith that begins to work out. So I can go on more and more about that, but the biggest thing is just understanding that it is a continuation of leverage, and it's just becomes a matter of, are you in control of as far as your financial decisions, or is somebody else making it for you?
Wow. All right. My mind is going in a multiplicity of directions.
There's so many ways.
But where I want to go now, connecting somewhat of our discussion from our previous episode, and we really didn't get into it as much as we wanted.
Yeah.
But we're in a second episode.
So
we're going to do it. Hey, financial literacy and emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Speak to us regarding the correlation between the two.
Oh my goodness. If anybody that's, whether it's on the job or anything that you're, pursuing in life or anything, emotional intelligence is important because it goes back to the understanding let's just look at it from the very simplest format, emotional intelligence. So I understand my emotions. And when I understand my emotions, I can go ahead and determine which emotion do I want to bring out if it's necessary. So if somebody stubs you on your toe, do you want to bring out the anger and want to beat them up, or
yes, I do.
Should I go ahead and relax a little bit, right?
Right.
Don't let the emotion control you, right?
Y'all pray for me. No.
So that's what emotional intelligence is. So if that's true in our understanding and the framing of that, when we start associating it to money, well, if you lose $20, what's the state of your emotion? What kind of emotional state are you in?
Right.
Are you down and out crying, boo-hooing and things of that sort? $20 is $20. What happens if it's $200 or $2,000, right? What is your emotional state, right? Are we acting in the best emotional state when it comes to our financial decisions? When you go to the car dealership, right? And you see the fancy car, right? The car that, it's real nice. It's real nice. Right. Are you allowing the person who's selling you to say, yo, you can do it. You can do it. You deserve it. You deserve it. And then, getting you to the point where you're at the table and say, you know what? You told me this is what you wanted. Put your money where your mouth is. Are you able to pull back, or, you pull back those emotions and making sure you're making the right decision? Or are you okay with the idea of being stuck with a car note for 6-7 years, paying more than what you should? Right. Again, it's the relationship, but it's the interactions. It's the daily interactions that we're making when it comes to understanding what emotions are we expressing, what emotions are we exemplifying when it comes to financial matters.
That's good. So take a moment and assess how your emotional intelligence, or how your inability to control your emotions contribute to your financial decisions.
And here's another thing about as far as those emotional decisions. So there's a statistic that says that the average person sees about 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements a day. So
wow.
If you think about from as far as a standpoint of all the advertisements that you're seeing, and we talked about in the last episode, this idea of autopilot, right? Financial autopiloting. Right. If you're not in control of your decisions and your emotions, then it's really easy to let your money go because of what's been advertised, what you're consuming on a regular basis. So that's also another, very important point when it comes to, again, slowing down enough, doing the due diligence before we make the financial transaction.
Yeah. Well, you said something right there in that latter statement, due diligence. How many people actually do their homework, their research, as it pertains to a desire to ensure that they have the finances to purchase, to acquire, without going into buyer's remorse,
right?
Without opening doors to financial difficulties and or struggle. Most, unfortunately, even I in my earlier years of adulthood.
We all been there.
I was, and I didn't know it at the time, I was an impulsive buyer.
Yes. Yes.
I made purchases off of my emotions, how I felt. And if I had the money at the time in my account, or if I had enough on my credit card, I wanted it. I got it. I didn't have emotional. I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough, nor did I have the financial literacy needed to process. Why do I want this? How will my life be enhanced, or how will my life be effective?
Yes.
Good and or bad by purchasing this. How will this affect me financially? Will I, after a few days, a week, in the new car smell, quote unquote, leaves,
right.
will I be regretting having purchased this, but have surpassed the time frame to return it? And now I'm stuck with something that I once wanted, but once I got, no longer receive pleasure from.
Yes.
And many people, we enter into those types of situations because we lack emotional intelligence.
Yes.
We lack self-control. We lack the ability to regulate how I feel, why I feel this way, things of that nature. And then we are financially ignorant and or financially illiterate when it comes to understanding the realm of finances.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's plain due diligence. The term due diligence actually means it's a legal requirement.
Yeah,
so if you don't do your due diligence before the purchase, meaning understanding the contract terms, this is really big when it comes to purchasing a home, purchasing a cell phone.
Read the fine
or
print,
even at this
people.
point, the buy now and pay laters.
Oh, well, Lord, let's not go down that road.
I mean, it's like,
go ahead.
Or even it's predatory lending. Like we know it's a predator. We know these are predatory. Look where they are positioned at.
But do we really know? That's another question.
Because
some people don't.
But it goes back to as far as the conversation about emotional intelligence, because I bet we do, but the need of what we're trying to fulfill outweighs the logic.
I didn't bring my bell out again, Justin. We forgot to bring the bell. That was worth ringing the bell on.
Do you know?
But yeah.
Do you know if you're going through, and it's the same is true when it comes to mental health and dealing with trauma. If you're having a traumatic experience or episode, then you are you're nullifying your capacity in making decisions. Well, there is a thing called financial trauma.
Oh, yes.
An experience that reshapes and alters, and it makes it so that you're not able to look at money in a healthy manner, prevents you from being able to make the best money decisions.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So let's stay here a little longer as it pertains to emotional intelligence and things of that nature. What are the dangers of financial decisions that are emotionally driven rather than value driven?
Well, let's look at the story of Jacob and Esau.
Okay.
Right?
Let's go biblical. Let's go biblical.
Right? And I love this story because this applies to a lot. I mean, it applies to a lot. There's layers to this, right? Because of his hunger, right? An emotional state. Because how many of y'all get hangry, right?
Yeah.
Not my 7-year-old. It's a whole nother story, right? My wife too. I'm not gonna put them out like that.
Lord Jesus, our wives have a voracious appetite. Y'all pray for our wallets. But go ahead.
It's when our appetite takes over, and we don't. Because it takes over, it presides. It makes a decision for us, and because our appetite is what's driving us, we're willing to let go of the very thing that's valuable. Esau gave up his birthright for the sake of some lentil soup.
Yes.
Now the question we have to ask for ourselves is, for the purchase of the iPhone, you made a purchase of the iPhone, that means that you have to work that many more hours to replace the income of the phone that you just purchased, meaning that that's time being taken away from either you being in worship,
right,
you being with you as far as your loved ones,
mm-hmm.
you doing the very thing that you're called to do,
mm-hmm.
right? So we make those exchanges, we make those transactions all the time, So I think that it's very important that, again, the due diligence. Are we taking time to assess? Are we taking time to think about our actions, our emotions? This is the state that we're in, the condition that we have, the disposition before we make the financial choices. Wow. I have to make sure that this is
absolutely
understood. Slow down.
Did y'all hear that? Slow your roll.
Slow down. I mean, there's always going to be an upgrade. There's always going to be problems, but don't lose your constitution. Don't lose your ability to make decisions. If you fall into the trapment of your emotions and allowing your emotions to make the decisions, mm-hmm. How many of y'all have ever gone to a grocery store on an empty stomach?
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
You will buy everything under the sun and come back home, and it's like, man, I didn't need to buy all this.
No.
But again,
Not at all.
Started from a standpoint of emotion, and it translated into our financial decisions.
Mm. Now, sidebar. Stop hitting the table.
Oh.
That's the Justin, y'all, because the mics are picking it up. Listen, I forgot to tell him when we were not recording, and so I was like, hey, you know what? Welcome to somewhat of live podcasting. And we're not editing that.
I could be clapping my hands.
He's not, y'all. So if y'all hear a thud, when you listen to this episode, if you hear a thud, it's Justin. He's getting excited. So, I understand. He's getting excited. He's getting excited. But nonetheless, all right. This is how he and I are when we are off camera, as it were.
We off camera.
All right. So now, how can people discern between financial opportunities and a financial trap? Because we all have heard of the various pyramid schemes.
Oh, yes.
The Ponzi schemes and the get rich quick schemes, and all of these things, when they are pitched, it seems as though it's doable. Mm-hmm. It seems possible, and the presenters are always charismatic. And then they come with proof, as it were, as it pertains to their lifestyle, their livelihood. Mm-hmm. And so they are, unfortunately, they're successful in pulling people in to this quote unquote financial opportunity that I'm presenting you to change your life, to change your family's life, to move you from poverty to prosperity, and whereby you're able to take a real vacation, going to Greece and going to other exotic countries and things of that nature. Oh, yeah. But I want you to talk about, and as you begin and prepare to answer this, I want you to give your background and inform the listeners briefly of your credentials so that they'll understand why you are in a position to speak the way that you do, and your expertise. But help us to discern and differentiate between a authentic, genuine financial opportunity and a financial trap.
All right, so let me start off with my background, because I think that's important for context on the answer that I'm going to give, because this answer is going to be, it's going to slap you in the face.
Get ready to be slapped.
So my background, I have my MBA in finance, with particularly emphasis on portfolio management. I've helped entrepreneurs scale their businesses. I've helped, I've done everything from helping entrepreneurs as far as on their business analytics, on their business finances. I've done everything as far as make investment deals on commercial real estate. I'm helping entrepreneurs when it comes to venture capital and helping them understand how to scale and how to exit. I mean, there's an expansiveness when it comes to the financial analysis that I've done, so when it comes to as far as people, but not only people, organizations, right? So when it comes to understanding outcomes, right, financial outcomes, my role is to help create a financial strategy that helps you achieve those outcomes.
Okay.
So to answer your question about the opportunities compared to traps, I'm going to be very candid with this answer. How willingly are you? How are you willing to become an expert at what it is that you're pursuing? It boils down to your expertise, and I will give it to you like this: Warren Buffett, he is mostly well known for his values-based investing. I remember in one of his earnings call, which is he was in an earnings call, he talks about the performance of the business, right? And to all of his stakeholders. It is a real big thing. It's like a conference it's a conference. It's a real big thing. Anyways, in one of his conferences, the question was asked about, his investment strategy and how he came to create the framework for it and how he became one of the richest people in the world. And this is important. He studies for 40 hours a week.
Wow.
He reads, he studies, he is assessing, he is analyzing details for 40 hours a week, and he's one of the richest people in the world. Wow. We work 40 hours a week.
I was about to say, that's a full-time job.
Exactly. So how much time are you willing to become an expert in a thing so that you can get the reward? How much are you willing to sow? The difference between an opportunity to trap if it's something that can come immediately in just a few phone calls, right?
Right.
Compared to you actually had to transform and change your life to make it work.
So by no means are you telling us that we need to read 40 hours a week.
No.
Because most of us don't have that time because we have to be on a job 40 hours a week.
True.
But I believe the essence of what you're saying is you have to be willing to invest the majority of your time.
Yes.
In what is going in studying and researching to educate yourself.
Right.
And develop the knowledge required in order for you to make sound decisions that's going to steer your financial life in the direction that you want. Absolutely. Praying alone is not going to do it, folks. Having hands laid on you is not going to do it. We're all for that. But going back to the word you used, due diligence.
Yes.
What are you doing? Are you ensuring that the responsibilities that you are required to fulfill and uphold, that you're doing those in order to make your way prosperous? Your financial well-being and prosperity, that is solely your responsibility. It's not even God's.
I will go ahead and tell you this, and this is another book. It was written written a long time ago, and I cannot think of the author, but I'll make sure to give that to you. Okay. But he talks about the idea that money is a litmus test to your faith.
I like that. Say that again. Money
is a litmus test. So if you all remember the little chemical things that we used to get in class, it is a litmus test of your faith. So it's important that we keep it all together. We keep it as far as a single component in terms as far as our spiritual lives and how that thing interfies into our physical manifestations or the physical outcomes. I should say rather. Faith without works is dead. But the works we have to do a deep dive on when it says works. That's the due diligence.
Absolutely.
That is the How much time am I putting as far as understanding how to operate a business? How much time am I understanding about money? How much time am I understanding? Am I creating room? Am I creating space in my day? Yes, you may have as far as the job and such, but you know what I'm saying? Like maybe, okay, if you did a budget, do you have to make as much as you do? What is the absolute minimum that you have to make so that you can spend a little bit more time working on as far as on the idea or the thing that you're trying to work towards so that you can get to that next level? What type of relationships do you have? Matter of fact, there's a key thing when it comes to his finances is that it's about your resources. Two resources that are very primary when it comes to your money is your education and your relationships. Do you understand money? And who do you know in your corner that understands money? And can you hold yourself accountable, or can those individuals hold you accountable to help you make better decisions?
I love it. So now, what are some questions that we should be asking before making major money moves? You already laid out, I think you did an exceptional job in helping us to discern and differentiate between financial opportunities and financial traps. So now let's take it a step further. What are some questions that we should be asking before we make major money moves?
What are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you're not willing to do? And you only know that when you understand your value and your belief set.
Okay.
It's so important. When I help people when it comes to budgeting, and it's the same thing for businesses, what are your values? What are your goals, right? Understand that first, right? Because if you understand your value set, if you understand as far as your belief patterns before you make a financial decision, that will automatically discern, right? When you talk to an investor, they already have what type of return that they want when they make as far as that investment. They have a legal team, they have accountants, they have analysts to help them make the decision so that when all that analysis is being brought to them before they actually make that investment. It's the same thing that we can employ in our everyday lives. We just got to understand what is our values. What are we willing to, what are our non-negotiables? And when I say non-negotiables, what if I tell you that, let's say you value your weekends with your kids.
Okay.
Are you willing to compromise that for the sake of the dollar?
Gotcha. Yeah.
I've learned that when it comes to managing money, the truer you are to your values and your beliefs and your faith, right? The truer you are to that, the outcomes come. The financial outcomes you're looking for will come. But it's testing, going back to the litmus test,
right.
It's testing your alkalinity or your acidity in terms of, are you operating in faith? Are you operating as far as in your flesh, right? Are you operating in your emotions? Are you operating under the humanistic systems, right? And I say humanistic systems, the things that help us operate as humans, right? Influences, our relationships, all those things. Are we operating in those things, or are we operating to our true inherent values? There's no other analysis, no other questions that need to be asked. Because if you're not operating from that standpoint, then everything else is just going to fall.
Right.
You got to build your house out of rock.
Absolutely.
As far as the saying in those regards. Anything else just kind of becomes a matter of, what you know, what you understand.
Okay.
And then from there, don't just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Warren Buffett only invested in 5 different companies.
Wow.
And a lot of it is companies that he liked. Coca-Cola, Apple, real estate. No, you don't have to be, quantum, finance, and you don't need to do all that. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple, saints.
There you go.
We're not going to say stupid. We're going to say saints. I love it. I know that you all are, at least it is our sincere desire that you are gleaning from this discussion.
Yes.
The reason why I had Justin to come, and there are a plethora of other topics we could have addressed, even though finance is your wheelhouse, there are still a gambit of subject matters we could have addressed. But I felt led to address the things that we have.
Yes.
Because of where we are as a nation.
Yes.
Economically, and many people are frightened. They're fearful.
Mm-hmm.
They're in debt.
Mm-hmm.
They're experiencing all types of financial pressures, and they don't know what to do. There are many that are looking for answers.
Yes.
They're seeking solutions, but they don't know where to begin. And so, of course, we didn't by any means exhaust any of the subjects that we addressed, but I believe enough information has been given to at least get many of you started.
Yes.
And to help you initiate your journey of financial recovery, your journey of financial turnaround. And so as we prepare to wrap up in a few, I want to talk about financial systems.
Yes.
How significant, as it pertains to what we've talked about in our previous episode, and even today, financial literacy. How important is it for us to know the financial systems, how they operate, and how to navigate within them?
This is a good question. And there's so many ways I can answer that, but I want to make sure that it's something that's practical and something that's comprehensive. When it comes to financial systems, let's start off with this premise right here. There's a difference between your individual financial system and the banking system.
Okay.
When you're in banking system, this is not deterring anyone from, as far as having a bank or anything like that. You just got to understand what you're getting yourself into, right? Banking concepts work. The way that our country it works off of supply and demand.
Absolutely.
With the supply and demand, you establish, it's referred to as, I don't even know if I really want to go into this deep there, but it establishes, what's the word I'm looking for? A storage of a value storage, a storage of value. So this is when it comes to actually our money and things of that sort, right? In order for you to engage in our economy that deals with supply and demand, that deals with scarcity, you have to have a storage of value. And when I say storage of value, that is the concept of currency. You have to have the money, right, in order to be able to engage. And if you have more of it, you have more leverage. And if you have less of it, obviously, we know what the outcome is there. That is the banking system, right? I encourage you to put into your ChatGPTs, your Google, and find out, ask the question, how do banks make money? That's what I would encourage you all to do. Now, that's how banks make money. Now, another question that you have to ask is, how do you make money? If you fashion the way you make money off of how banks make money, then guess what? What's the one asset, what's the one type of business that we're never going to fail at? Banking. Yeah. Bankings will always, they have FDIC insurance. There's a protection with that, because in order for our country to interact with the global economy, it has to have this storage of value. But to understand, to get down to the granular, back down to as far as the details, when we're talking about this financial system and how we can complete it ourselves, how we can create it ourselves, right? We have to think about ourselves as businesses. There is income and there is expenses. Businesses look at the same thing, your income and expenses, and how are you managing? How are you stewarding? What are your goals? What decisions you're making sure that is in your grasp, making sure that it's under your stewardship, making sure that it's under your decision-making framework, so that, when it comes to interacting with the economy in any kind of fashion or manner, you're able to be the beneficiary and not the one that's producing. You're not the consumer of it, right? Does that make sense? So when it comes to systems, and I think of systems in a very different way, because I look at it from as far as the standpoint of policies. I'm thinking about it in terms of frameworks and why things exist the way that they do, right? So when we talk about as far as, our personal pockets and why debt exists and things of that sort, well, again, that comes from a banking system. But when it comes to our own financial system, there are things that you can do, like instead of using the bank to leverage the purchase of a car, a house, or, anything of that sort, why don't you use your own banking concept?
Right.
And that own banking concept can be a matter of how you save money. Leveraging insurance.
I was about to say through insurance.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying
I need to have you come back and talk about that on another episode.
For context, just look at how banks, the income and the asset sheet that banks have and what they invest their money into, what's their hedge of protection. And if you can understand that and put it in your own framework, then again, as the banks grow, your money will grow.
Right.
But you got to be making the same decisions. But that also means you got to do the due diligence. You got to put forth
your
the
homework.
effort.
Yeah.
And this is a very loaded question. I love this question. I would love to explain. I'm gonna write an article to kind of explain this more, because I think this is really good, because there's so much that can be said there. But I hope I did my best to answer that question.
You did a phenomenal job.
I appreciate that.
Listen, I am so grateful to you for, again, taking time out to share with my listeners as we unpack the importance of developing financial literacy, even emotional intelligence. And whoever thought that emotional intelligence was connected to your financial relation, or plays
outcomes.
A part, or is an important element to your financial relationship.
It is.
To your financial relationship. But Justin, real quick, I want you again to inform our listeners how they can contact you. Again, the articles that Justin mentioned in these 2 episodes that he has written, very powerful and insightful, they will be in the show notes, where you're able to access them via a link and or download the PDF version. And so we are going to also, I'll get with him and get some other resources that we can put in the show notes. So you can go to these resources, read them, educate yourself. And again, not to overwhelm you, but to give you enough tools to start the journey in regards to turning your financial life right side up. So tell them how they can get in touch with you and all that good stuff.
The best ways to get in contact with me are LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin L. Enlow, Enlow. You'll see the name in the show notes. And then simply by email, justin@1242consulting.com.
All right. Again, thank you, Justin, for being with me on Empower Your Thinking. Financial resilience doesn't come from wishful thinking, but from intentional living. You must ask hard questions. You must align your budget with your beliefs. And above all, you must practice due diligence. Remember that term, due diligence, because every decision is either building your future or breaking it. As always, I thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Empower Your Thinking. I truly appreciate you being a part of this journey. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. So take a moment to rate and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Also know your feedback helps the podcast grow and empowers more listeners like you. As a thank you for leaving a review, you'll receive a free audio teaching on preparation, a key to success. Very insightful teaching, if I do say so myself. Yes, I taught it, but still, it's a powerful teaching. You will be able to download it from the show notes. All right. I love to hear from you. I'm getting tongue tied because I'm excited. I sincerely would love to hear from you. So I encourage you to connect with me directly. Follow me on Instagram at IEmpowerLives. Visit my website at IEmpowerLives.online or email your thoughts, questions, or feedback about today's episode at info@ctjohnson.org. Know, as I always tell you, your thoughts are valuable to me, and I look forward to engaging with you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your listenership. I appreciate each and every one of you. And until our next episode, remember that a changed life is the consequence of an empowered mind.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Empower Your Thinking. Remember, a changed life is the consequence of an empowered mind. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring content that fuels your journey to unlock your full potential. And for daily empowerment, follow host CT Johnson on Instagram at @IEmpowerLives. Join us next week as we continue this voyage of self-discovery, uncovering the keys to a more empowered and fulfilled life.